Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Laura, and this is the Parentrepreneurs Club podcast, a weekly show to help you navigate the demands of being a working parent. We will share lots of practical ideas, hints and tips, and our own and others' experiences with juggling work, family, health and finances. Above all, we want to help you find your purpose, define your identity, and banish any confidence gremlins that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. No matter whether you have children or not, there will be something here for you. Let's get started.
Welcome, listeners, to this new episode of the Parentrepreneurs Club podcast. I'm the co-founder and host, Michelle, and today I'm joined by Skye Edwards, also known as Mummy's Mental. So thanks ever so much, Skye, for joining us. Obviously, we're recording this in an evening and we've both just shared our trials and tribulations of trying to get the children to bed, etc. So really do appreciate your time because I know it's not easy. So firstly, if you don't mind just telling the listeners a little bit about your journey into content creation, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today. I knew, obviously, I'm a mum and just so passionate about the well-being of mums, having struggled myself into my new role as mother with mental health, and also really, really super passionate about children's emotional well-being and just parenting in general. So I knew I had this passion and I knew I had a lot in me to give. I don't know if you can relate to this, but there's just something entrepreneurial in me that I just can't seem to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I also had the passion with that combined, I was like, I've got to do something with this. I found a new sort of bravery that I hadn't had before. Like, I'm just changing and developing and healing constantly. And so I was just like, I've got to do something with this fire that's within me and this passion and go for it. So I started off just by, I suppose I should go back. So I started off actually before because I wanted to run a business around my kids. I was desperate after maternity leave to be like, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to have to get a proper job. I don't want anyone to be able to tell, to make me feel guilty for going to pick my kids up if they're sick, or to have to worry about childcare and things like this, or like there was so much going on, and I was just like, I just don't want that to be in the hands of someone else, but I know I want to do something and I've got to do something. So I actually opened a business first called Skye's Barn, which was like homeware and like country sort of home style business. And that was going really, really well. And I was really chuffed with it. It wasn't great in the terms of I was constantly dragging my little boy to the post office to post things. And I was up till midnight, like wrapping people's parcels and things. So I loved doing it, but it was really hard work. And I think a lot of it, especially on social media, was like glorified, but actually it was really, really tough. And I did struggle to juggle it. And I then fell pregnant with my daughter, and I was useless to everyone. Like, I couldn't even play with my son. I was laying on the floor, just like trying to play with him, so unwell for like nearly the whole pregnancy. Until, apart from actually the third trimester was fine. On top of that, we were moving house, so I had a house renovation being done. There was a lot going on, and I had to shut down the business. So I sold off all of the last of my stock on Vinted, and to previous customers I was like, look, I need to get rid of this stock now. We're moving house, I'm shutting down the business, and managed to sell it all off. And I just thought, this just isn't going to work. Like, my other half was saying, just open it up again, it's fine, it was doing well, just open it up again. I was like, I just can't. Where I stopped, I think I lost the passion for it as well. And I just thought it was something I enjoyed, but it wasn't my passion. And again, I found like this bravery. So with my second child, I think what it did is reassured me that I wasn't actually a terrible mother who didn't know, like, what I don't know what I'm doing. But having two of them kind of made me think I've done pretty much exactly the same, and they're completely different children. Whereas with my Do you know, can you relate to that?
Yes, absolutely.
They're completely different.
Yeah.
So with my first child, I was like, I can't talk to people about parenting. What do I know? I'm a parent to one. And so it was just like, oh, I can't do that. But then I had my second one, really reassured me, and I was like, do you know what, this is just the way it is. And I thought, I've got to get this message out. I'm really passionate about helping mums anyway. I've always sort of been, I'm really into like what they label now as like gentle parenting, and I'm just so passionate about it. And I thought, I'm brave enough now that I've had my second one. I'm now brave enough to do something about this. So I decided to start making content on social media about it, which I really struggled with on LinkedIn actually, because it's a completely different platform, and because I didn't have a business to talk about on LinkedIn, I was like, what do I even post about? Just being a mum, like what? And then I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And all of my tips and tricks and things. So I started doing all that, and then I got approached by and spoke to some brands and was like, I'm doing this at the moment, I'd love to work with you. Or they'd message me and be like, I'd really love if you could take a look at our product or whatever else, and what we could collaborate something. So I just sort of fell into creating content, which I always loved. It's the only subject in school I got an A in, actually, was media.
Was it? Amazing.
And like media and marketing or something like that. And I think, looking back, I think, why did I not know my part? But anyway, I'm on it now, so that's all that matters. But so started creating content for people and brands, and I absolutely love it. And everyone I work with is just so amazing. And then I got asked to do some writing, and now I'm on my journey to opening my own website and starting a blog. I think it's called a blog, but basically I just really want some resources out there with tips, tricks, like mindset, values and things for mums to be available to help them get through similar dark times that I've had.
Such a good idea.
There's so many people that can relate, but you know, a lot of the time, like, you go to counselling and it costs money, and not everyone's got that available, and not everyone actually wants to go to counselling. And in fact, there's a book, and I've got it here, that is absolutely amazing. So if you haven't been to counselling, there's a book here called I've just dropped them all. Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before? I don't know if you've read it, but it's just amazing. And it's basically all of the sort of tricks from the therapy room. And I just think all new parents need to have this sort of information to be able to get them through how life-changing becoming a parent is.
Absolutely.
So and then I've written journals all my life. I've been into mental health. I don't know what to say. Into, you know, self-development, mental health, the mind, for a very long time, which was all started by reading The Secret. Again, I was depressed and was like, life has got to be better than this. What can I do? So like read The Secret, had a bit of counselling, and just real passion for helping other people. So I used to like make journals for my friends and stuff, and at one point they were like, why aren't you doing something like this? And I was like, great idea. So I made it pretty, and now it's on Amazon. So I've got 2 journals. One is a introduction to journaling, which is like self-reflection, healing, gratitude, manifestation, the lot. And then I've got another one which is just gratitude. So the intro one is quite in-depth, reflective, which not everyone's sort of ready for. You know what I mean? It's a great introduction, but it's not, sometimes people don't want to do that. They want to just focus on moving forward, which is great. So that's why I wrote the gratitude journal as well.
Great.
And there's also some more coming out, but
fabulous. We'll make sure that we put these links into the podcast link as well, because I'm sure our listeners will be intrigued by that, definitely, as I will be. I'll certainly be having a look.
Thank you.
I think it really resonated when you were saying then about having the second child and kind of that pivot to do something different. And it was something we were talking about in a previous podcast. You know, sometimes your drivers change, don't they? So I guess, you know, it sounds to me like a lot what you wanted to do was control your own destiny in a way. Like you wanted to be your own boss and get your own terms. And I think sometimes we forget that. We kind of all get hung up on a job title or an
absolutely,
don't we? And
the thing is, if I hadn't have done that before, I wouldn't have been half as successful in what I'm doing now, because I wouldn't have learned everything that business taught me, like social media. I didn't know. I would not show my face on the internet. I'd maybe do like a selfie for my personal Instagram or Facebook and just be like, oh, I went to the park today, felt cute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, which is really putting myself out there, making
yeah.
stupid videos, making fun of life, and talking about doing a podcast like this with you. I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that. That business helped me grow enough to be able to do what I'm doing now. So I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
And
didn't
that's
work out.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that a lot of our clients talk about, and I'm sure our listeners will really resonate with that imposter syndrome. And and I'll be honest, Laura and I have this took a lot to get even to the podcast stage because we were like, oh, we can't look at ourselves, we can't look at ourselves. And I think, that's a really good point. Sometimes what we forget, the stuff we've learned in that corporate world or other business before, don't we? And it's just but that transitional point that we end up using those skills because we've pivoted and we've done something slightly different.
It's the same as LinkedIn. Like when I talk to people about LinkedIn, they're like, no, that's just full of, the old fashioned business, whatever, but it's changed. It's changed.
Really. How do you come up with content? Because I love your Instagram page. You are so on it, and there is so many videos, and I think that's something that we're not so great at ourselves. We're trying to get that, and we really, it's ironic, we push our clients to do it more often, but we're so not social media specialists. How do you kind of think about the content for your audience? How do you come up with so many different things? You kind of plan it all, or is it quite
So God, I don't even know where to start. I hop on trends a lot.
Okay, yeah.
So basically I'm on here's my social media. I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. They're my 3 favorites. I also dabble with Facebook, Twitter, Threads, Pinterest. I'm trying to do all of them, but I'm just focusing on the 3 that I like at the moment, which is TikTok, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Instagram's like my safe place. It's what I mainly ran my previous business on. That's how I got all of my sales pretty much. So it's like my comfort zone. LinkedIn has been great because you can meet people that you would never meet or even would notice you on Instagram, for example, because it's such a massive. So LinkedIn's great for meeting people and like-minded people that want to talk about business and how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and tips and tricks about social media and things like that. So but on TikTok, what the gurus say is that you have to post 3 videos a day.
Wow.
And then Instagram is every day and LinkedIn is every day, but if you can, as far as I'm aware. And that is tough. TikTok was so intimidating when I first got on there because I hadn't done TikTok before for this one, and I was like, I'll go on there. But it really helped me for content because there's people on there that are sort of guiding you in what to do. So they're like, here's a trend that's happening, here's how you could adapt it to your niche. Now my niche is so easy for me that I could easily adapt it and think of something. In terms of other content, again, it's easy for me because I'm just sharing my experience. So I'm trying to give something useful. I'm trying to validate people's feelings. I'm trying to give them tips and tricks of what's worked for me. Giving them ideas of what they can say. So really it's easy because that's just because I'm just like chatting to someone. Do you know what I mean? It's just talking to my audience as me as a person. So for my niche, it's easy, but for other people, I don't know how they do it.
No, I mean, it can be. It is literally. I can see becoming the content creator because it is literally a full-time job sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
To come up with that. I'm certainly not a creative person, so sometimes I think too much on it, and I think that's something we found with small business owners. It's you overthink it sometimes, and say if you're passionate about something, I guess it's that bit easier, isn't it, to really come up with those ideas.
I'd happily help. There's, to me, some quick ones that is stuff like like you already know, myth busting and asking open questions. Like what they say as well is to like do a call to action. So to always have at the end of to have like a call to action of like and save this post, or I find this so cringy, but I always, because I feel like a beggar because I'm like, follow me for more, please follow me for this, or hit the like button. It just feels really cheesy and beggy, and but it's just getting that over that, and it's taken a lot to get the confidence that I've got now to just actually do these things and to put my face on there and to say, follow me please, because you know, so
But
yeah.
I love that as many followers as you've got, and you still feel like that. I think that's great to hear, because I think everybody grapples with that, don't they? And you know, you
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
it feels so cringy. But then I just think, well, why do I actually care? What do I care about? If it's going to benefit my business, why on earth do I care? Really?
absolutely. Yeah,
But
and
I
it's
don't even have a lot of followers. Compared to people that I'm sort of, you know, I don't think I've got a lot. I don't know.
But you've got really good engagement, haven't you? I kind of think everyone's always commenting and liking.
That's exactly it.
That's
I think
sometimes
definitely, and because of the nature of, like, I haven't got a lot of followers compared to the big boys, but because of that, I'm actually able to really engage with them. And because of the nature of what I talk about, mental health, people struggling, especially with like something so sensitive as being a mum, a parent, one of the most important jobs in people's lives, I get a lot of direct messages, so they don't necessarily want to post on social media. So for example, one of the latest ones that I've done is about like depression, getting counselling, whatever else. Obviously they don't want to admit on social media, I'm really struggling, I actually don't think I can be a mum anymore, I can't do this, like, and I'm getting these messages and being able to reassure them and help them and guide them to links of where to go, and you know, and stuff like that. So even though I've got a small following, it's a really it's my mum village. And that's what I had. So when my son was born, we went straight into lockdown pretty much after he was born, so there wasn't much support, so my phone was my support. And I couldn't go to baby groups and whatever else, and our Instagram was my mum village, because that's who gave me advice on how to continue breastfeeding, on what I'm meant to be doing to do with weaning, on when I was struggling, so that I had people to talk to. And it was really nice to talk to people that were strangers, because there was no judgment. It was like, and if they did judge me, it doesn't matter, I'm never going to meet them.
That's a really good point, isn't it? Really, really good point. I think we forget that sometimes, that you know, the physical going somewhere, and certainly when you are grappling with something, it's like you can kind of not hide behind it, but social media kind of, at least, and you can access people from all over the world. That's the luxury, isn't it? Like, we're having this conversation at different ends of the country, and I think we forget that sometimes. So I was going to ask you about that, actually, like heartwarming stories, because I imagine you've had some really, really, really personal things divulged, and you've been able to support people through some of that as well. So
but you know what, it's really hard, like, because I'm not a counsellor or anything, and there has been times where I've been really triggered by what they're saying, and I've had to say, like, I'm so sorry, but I'm not strong enough to actually cope with this conversation.
Good point. So
this is who you need to speak to, or you need to get but like, I'm not saying you need to get counselling, you need to do it, but like, I'm just not. I like have to put boundaries in place to protect my own stuff. So
and it's the same as for coaches. Sometimes we're not the right people to deal with whatever's been presented to us. So it's that signposting, an active listener, and listening to what they've got to say, and then signpost them in the right direction. Absolutely. I mean, it sounds fantastic, and clearly. So what are the goals for you going forward? Obviously, you've kind of got this huge passion piece, which is obviously driving you forward. What's kind of your goals for the next sort of 12 months? Have you got any sort of business goal? Are you kind of just happy with where you are? I mean, obviously, thank God you got a lot in the pipeline.
I have. Do you know what? This is the first time. So I'm a very organised person, and I like to have goals. I manifest my goals. Do you know what I mean? And I like to know where I'm going, and have my, you know, my vision board, and to know what's happening, and I plan and I organise, and I have, you know, my hinge list book of what I'm going to achieve by when. But this is the first time that I've not done that. And I'm just seeing what happens and where it goes. So obviously my short-term goal is to get this blog up and running properly. I've got contributors as well that I need to sort of finalise things with, who are sending me stuff. So this blog, basically, I want to be out there, a resource that's free for them. Obviously, I'm going to try and make money from it, because I need to live, I need to pay the bills, I need to justify why I'm spending this much money, this much time on doing this, because it takes a lot of time. And that's, so I need to obviously try and make some money from it, all of this, to justify the time that I'm spending on it. Plus I want a little bit of to take, anyway, you understand.
Completely.
But I kind of want it to be free for them to access, if that makes sense. So I really want them to have these things available that's helped me, that's helped others, and to just have it out there as much as possible. Not saying that there's not stuff out there already that they could access, but people are coming to me, and a lot of people have said this. I feel so big-headed saying this, but a lot of people have said that I've got a way of words, or talking to people, or saying things that's a bit more like down to earth and relatable, and not judgmental, and I
Mm.
like to add a bit of humour in here and there as well to try and lighten it a bit, and just try and be what I needed. And so that's my short-term goal, is to definitely be able to get that up and running for everyone to access. Long-term, do you know what, I've got no idea. I've had so many suggestions, like, oh, become a parent coach or do this and that, and I don't actually know where I'm going to take this. For the first time ever, I haven't got any legitimate manifestations or goals of where this is going. I've got a passion, I've got knowledge, I've got all of this in me, and I'll see what opportunities come my way.
And I think that's great. I think that's great to be able to do that, definitely, because I think sometimes we get too strung up on it, and we've just done a podcast about goals, and people always kind of move those boundaries sometimes, and they set a goal and then they kid themselves, don't they, that they're either achieving it or they're not achieving it. So sometimes you are just better to go with it, and that passion, that driver and that motivator stuff, I think, just to take the forefront sometimes. And that's really, really inspiring. I just
really, because I think it's terrifying.
No, I don't. I think it's fabulous. And we were talking exactly what we were talking about the other day. Like, we have buckets in coaching. We talk about these buckets on the table, and the drivers and passion, the motivators. And if we're not careful, the goals and the business goals, particularly financial targets, take over, don't they? Because we get so hung up, especially in the backdrop we're living in, about how much we're bringing in. And some of us have this financial independent thing that we grapple with, and goals become such the focus, and then you forget why you're actually doing something. That passion,
absolutely.
And I love how you said earlier, like that
like this as well. If you get caught up in that, it can really, what I've found every time I've had like a goal or whatever else, what I found, it really just dampens my creativity. And for writing and content and all of this, you need your creative juices.
Really good point. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be too square pegged and boxed off, because it actually needs to be a bit more, a little bit more organic. I think that's fabulous. Have you got any sort of significant challenges or setbacks that you've had, like, as you've made that transition? Because obviously it is really, really brave. And I think, like you said, I certainly resonate. Second child, you hit stock again, don't you? Because they are definitely not the same as the first.
Did you find it gave you like a boost of confidence of,
Yeah, it did. I mean, I'd started my business when I'd had Francesca, so I started at the start of COVID, so it's very different, and the way to do business was very different. And then I had Benjamin the start of 2022, so we're just coming out of all that kind of weirdness of COVID. But that led to this. So really, Laura and I were having those conversations, laughing. We were laughing, joking before I came online today, because she texted me about something, kind of like sent her a selfie. I was like, this is my current situation. I was like, sweaty face and spaghetti all over my top. And that's what we used to talk about, just coming out of lockdown, like trying to juggle the kids and running our own businesses.
We were like,
I'm
not gonna lie, I got changed for this podcast. I did not look at
one's been sick in the toilet, one's plastered spaghetti all over me. I mean, that's what motherhood's about. But it's nice to be authentic and to share it, isn't it? And I think
do you know what I nearly said to myself? I was like, do I get changed, or do I just turn up like this and go, well, this is how it is? So, and I thought, no, come on, be professional, get changed.
I know. I think, well, most of it's audio, to be fair, but I think that's we do end up kind of thinking that social pressure and conformity, don't we? So I think it's just like what sort of challenges have you had on that transitional point? Obviously you talked a little bit about that imposter syndrome, but is there anything else that you've really kind of struggled with to overcome as you set up?
Not struggle with, like I said about the triggers and things, but also with what I'm doing and how passionate I am, and where it's such a personal subject that everyone has such different opinions about and things, like there's a lot of backlash.
Good point.
And I get quite a lot of trolls, mainly on TikTok,
right?
So there is that, and Facebook. I've had some on Facebook as well, because another thing about social media is, this is going to sound awful, but I tend to post things that are quite triggering for people, or like in the sense of relatable, to get their attention, to then direct them to the help. So often my videos, I'd like to point out as well that a lot of my videos are from the mum village. They're from, I call it the mum village because that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm a part of this amazing village on Lifeline, and they tell me their things, and they say, I would never be brave enough to talk about this, but this happened, or my mother-in-law's done this, or this was said to me at work, or they tell me all these stories, and I'm like, brilliant, this is great for content. And I just make what they've said into something shareable and on their voice. And they're like, oh, I even had a message like a few months ago saying, can you make this into a video? She literally handed me the content on a plate. Can you make this into a video so that I can share it, so that my sister-in-law can see it?
I've got loads to share. we said as an NCT group how much we'd like to do an anonymous blog about our blogs.
Oh my God, well now you can, because that's what my blog is going to be like. It's about sharing experiences to validate each other's experiences, to know you're not alone, and to know, and I feel like I'm the people, like a voice for mothers in a way. So I post this controversial video to get the attention. So like the most recent one was about how a partner, after night feeds, you've gone down and said, oh, I'm so tired after those night feeds, and they've had nothing to do with it, and they've gone, well, at least you haven't got to go to work because you're on maternity leave. And that has triggered a huge response. So this is really, and I've basically, but everyone obviously thinks it's my personal own experience, and it's like attacking me, going, well, yeah, you are lucky that you don't have to go to work, and you are lucky you're on maternity leave, or in the US we only get 6 weeks, or so there's lots of this. But on my caption and underneath, what I've got is about how to overcome that, how to communicate effectively with your partner in the early weeks of postpartum, because you're both so sensitive, and the hormonal changes, and how to navigate that new role as parents, and what other accounts to follow. So there's some brilliant accounts on Instagram. Again, this is all free for them, to help them communicate and not divorce their partner immediately after having a baby. So I post I tend to post something that's a bit triggering, or something that's a bit bold, and then to get people talking about it. But obviously with that comes a lot of backlash sometimes, and that sometimes I deal with that better than other times. Swings around. Sometimes I have to have like a social media break and go, okay, I'm not feeling strong enough I can feel myself fighting back, rather than being platonic and helpful, and especially at the moment. So this is really controversial, is I've just started a petition with my friend Emma. I want to call her a colleague, because we're only friends through talking about business kind of things, but we don't work together, but we do sometimes. We've just actually started a petition to try and give children equal protection against assault as adults. And we need 100,000 signatures.
Right.
And it's harder than we thought.
Really wow.
And we're getting quite a lot of backlash on that, obviously.
That is the scary thing with social media, isn't it? It's such a public domain, and people can be keyboard warriors, as I call them, and sit there and, they wouldn't say it if you walked down the street, or even if you were in a room with some of these individuals, but it's quite easy to sit on the keyboard or on the phone, glass of wine or whatever to float their boat. Probably not even a glass of wine, because let's be honest, they're not that sophisticated. But you know what, I kind of expect it. Like I don't think I deserve it. I'm not going to say I deserve it, but I expect to put myself out there, and I'm okay with that. If that's what it takes, if that's like the one negative part that I've got to endure to do what I'm doing, and the pros weigh out the cons loads. Like the amount of mums that message, it's a blooming ego boost for me, because the mums that message like, you've really helped me today, you've helped me deal with this situation better, or I'm feeling so much happier after hearing this, and so it's worth it. Absolutely. I love it. I think you're so resilient in what you're doing, and obviously it's majorly rewarding as well. So it's like you say, a chicken and egg, isn't it, between doing the right thing and getting the rewards, and then these unfortunate people that feel that they can't control and get onto it. No, it's been absolutely fabulous. I feel like we need a part 2 in probably like a year's time. We need to know what's gone on with the journals, and I think our listeners would love. And certainly, I mean, I absolutely admire you as well for doing the kind of non-goal setting and going with the flow slightly on it, because I do think we get very hung up on kind of setting really rigid goals that just stop a lot of that kind of, like you say, creative juice. So I think that's amazing, absolutely amazing.
And you just don't know what's going to be presented to you. And what you're going to find the courage for as well. So like I just randomly one day was like, I could get my journals in a bookshop.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous. I was just in town with my little boy getting a gingerbread man and then going to the library. And I was like, right. And I was psyching myself up like, right, come on, we're gonna go in this bookshop, and I'm just going to say, come on, you know, you need my book in here. And I like was walking towards the bookshop with the pram and the carrier on, just trying to think about what I would say. Like trying to sell myself, like, come on, I can do this. And just was braved it, and it worked. So it's just about sometimes you just don't even know what your goals are until you see something and you think, oh yeah, I should be doing this.
Or we prescribe something and then we get so up on it, and people either get burnout or they feel like they failed in some way. And
exactly.
We talked about the other day, you know, it doesn't really matter about this word failure, does it? You know, that's just something, a bit of a thing we need to get over as a society, I think. You know, it's all experimentation, isn't it? No matter what you do. So no, I definitely think we need to pick up in a year's time. It's been absolutely fabulous. We will make sure we link your journals and into the podcast thing, and we'll let you get back to your read. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. It's been really nice to meet you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm really honoured that you asked me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We rely heavily on word of mouth, so if you found value in this episode, please hit subscribe and share it with family and friends. If you'd like to find out a bit more about us, you can find us on our Facebook group, Parentrepreneurs Club, or alternatively on Instagram, parentrepreneurs_club. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you next time.